board members here. And so if everybody could please stand, we'll have the pledge and invocation. Stu, please let us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Joey, could you lead us in?
Yes, absolutely. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, just thank you for this time. Just thank you for the opportunity that we're gathered here. I just pray for your wisdom tonight as we discuss the business of this district. I just pray that you will just guide us and direct us in this. Just thank you for the ones that are here and the ones that will be presenting. I just pray that you'll just continue to be with the students on summer break, be with the staff and the teachers on summer break. I just pray that you will just watch and care over them, allow them to rest and recoup. Just pray that you would just continue to be with our community and the leaders of our community. Just thank you for all that you do for us. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Stu, and thank you, Joey.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, board remarks, just saying this is the last meeting before the end of our current fiscal year. And so going forward, our school year is going to look a whole lot different with the 4-day curriculum week, and a lot of work has been done by our central office staff and the teachers on the campuses and the administrators. And so we're looking forward for the community support, community's input, and input from the staff and teachers and students. Just looking forward to it. We're kind of a trendsetter here in our areas for us with the 4-day curriculum week, and everybody's proud of it, and it has proved successful thus far. One of the reasons the main reason we went to the 4-day week was to retain and recruit quality staff, and the board, the report from central office was lots of quality staff has applied for Vernia ISD, and it's a real positive start to this new chapter in our school district. So. Been off to a good start next year for our fiscal year starting July 1, and we'll be closing some things out tonight, but it's a new start for us, and we're going in the right direction, and that's a good thing. So, Dr. Coleman, you have anything?
Absolutely. I'll tie back into your 4-day work week. So we're probably sitting somewhere for certified applications and having close to 50% additional applications, and not just applications, highly qualified applications with multiple years of experience. And so we're replacing a lot of the people that are leaving this year with people that have experience for our kids, not someone that's a novice or just out of college. Obviously, we hire the best person, and sometimes it is one just out of college. But we're getting a lot of qualified people for these positions that we didn't even have available last year to us. So when I just say certified applications, there's a big quality difference. I can't quantify that at this time, but as we close out the hiring season, we'll come back with some of that data as Natalie's able to get all the postings down and actually get the real numbers for you to kind of bring that full circle to let you know specifically. But we're sitting at about 50% additional certified applicants. The non-certified applicants is a little bit under that, 43% or something like that. But that's still incredible compared to what we had last year looking for people. So, speaking of many of those fine people that we brought on board, obviously we're in the height of vacation season, etc. So at the July board meeting, as we begin to close in and people are coming off vacations, we'll try to get in those critical positions such as assistant principals, etc. in here to do introductions at that particular board meeting. And Natalie's on vacation too, so she'll be here to help us with those introductions of all those different people, hopefully back from their vacations. Hopefully, speaking of that same thing, most of those job postings you'll see come down over the next couple of days. We wait till the teacher comes in, signs their contract, and all of that stuff before we take down the job. So you'll see job postings sit up there a long time, even though we've hired somebody. We also leave up all those pools. If you noticed, this year we started putting pools for intermediate, pool for this. We just leave those there. So it pushes our applications to look like there's a whole lot out there, more than there actually is. But then it gives us a pool of people, if you will, to pull from when an application comes up and we need to close pretty quickly. But all those should be coming down. So, on another note, I just want to thank all of you for getting out there early. We had a good showing at TASB for people getting their hours for this coming school year. I appreciate the dialogue, the conversations, the training that we were able to attend, and that was really good for us as board members were getting their hours for this upcoming school year. I also wanted to kudos for Valerie Frazier R as well. You'll notice that our new webpage is coming up and alive. She'll be working on it all summer to plug in those gaps, because as you transition, sometimes things don't always come over, so people are filling her in on the things that are working and not working, and she's making those updates. We're really excited about that. Along with it comes a new app with it for people, so we've been pushing that out there. Also coming along with that is the new communication systems. When our coaches and teachers communicate with parents, it's very critical. This school district or any school district, that you have some oversight on that process. You have messages that are going out to parents and stuff, and school districts have tended in general, not just La Vernia, to just use, I signed up for my own Remind account, I use this Sports U account, I use these accounts. Those accounts aren't necessarily monitored by the school district, which we know there can be some very critical situations where we have to keep documentation on. So this system offers a one-stop shop to get that information out to our parents, so you're not downloading 5 different apps on your phones that kind of track your kids around the district. And it also gives a safety feature should anything ever come up about what a coach may have said or a parent said. Well, it's documented in this system, so we look forward to that being pushed out too before the fall gets here for our coaches and our sponsors for those type of things. We're currently in the middle of reviewing legislative updates. Dr. Wisenhunt's doing some of them right now, the ones that TASB has already pushed out, and is working through those. There are many more that TASB hasn't pushed out, but we just don't have the information yet. I know many of y'all at the TASB SLI got the updates on the safety stuff. Mike and I got our ear to the ground about what that's going to mean for us, but we're watching that stuff, waiting for the rulemaking to happen, and as soon as we can get it to you, we'll be getting that stuff and sharing it with you as it comes out. So we are looking at that. 2 new things I'm going to look at this year from my office. I'm going to try to resurrect the superintendent student advisory. So I'm going to start meeting with a group of junior high and high school kids to listen to them once a month. So it did happen in this district one time in the past, and I've done it at the previous district I've been at. So it's time that we need to kind of start listening a little more and having those conversations. So you'll hear a little bit about that. And something a little bit more for some greater conversation is that concept. Some districts do this, and I'm toying with it in my mind right now, is for parent input and for knowledge and to build a closer relationships. A lot of school districts have a community leadership academy. So they invite parents to come in to sit down with the superintendent and the leadership to learn about it, so they can be that voice for us out there in the community. And you run a new leadership academy every single year so that people can better understand what's going on behind the scenes in our school district. So you can build those allies, build those partnerships, and it's something that the superintendent runs throughout the year. And 10 years down the road, those are good board members. Those are good PTO members. Those are good booster club members, because they learn more about the district and the inside workings, and they want to step forward and to do those things, and they get to build relationships. So I'm kind of running that through my mind right now, so you may see that come to fruition this year as well too. It'd be like a monthly thing where they can come and learn about, have conversations with the superintendent, and learn about what's going on in the district, what that looks like. So that's about it.
Okay.
Thank you for everything, guys.
Thank you. Okay, public comment. Mrs. Miller, we have no one signed up to speak.
No, sir.
Okay, so let's go to our first order of business is going to be a public meeting to discuss the 2023-2024 budget and proposed tax rate. Ms. Oaks. You're up.
Really, this is an opportunity if the public's here for questions. I have the notice that we put in the paper prior to this board meeting. So if y'all have any questions about that, we'll go into detail on the budget later on in the meeting.
Anybody?
So, I mean, and I think as far as rates, we've already talked about rate, right? We talked about this, what we wanted to put in the paper. This is what had already gone into the paper.
Yeah, so this is, since we're July 1, we have to put this in the paper before we have this meeting to adopt our budget, but we won't adopt our tax rate until after we get certified values, whenever that may be.
Okay.
So we have to adopt it by September 30th or 60 days after we get our certified. So the tax rate that you see on that notice is probably not going to be our tax rate, because I would assume that we're going to compress maybe like a portion of a penny.
So
So
we initiate this for our budget discussion.
yes,
that
yes,
we've
we
got
have to post
approved,
it. Yeah, we have to
before
post
July
it,
1.
yeah. Yep, we post it earlier, and so long as we don't adopt a tax rate higher than that posting, we don't have to post it again.
That was my question. This is the highest it would be.
Yeah,
And to clarify, if you don't mind, because sometimes we get questions from community members that are looking at other organizations or other school districts that are adopting tax rates, right? If they're not a July 1 fiscal year, they got to flip on what they do. Their posting requirements and dates in the newspaper are different than ours on a July 1. So sometimes a month or two from now, when they're looking at everybody else's, where's Lavernia's? They didn't post theirs. Yeah, we did. We posted it when we were supposed to have posted it. So, but a lot of people get confused about that. So you could get that question come your way later on. But no, ours was already legally posted. So.
yeah, everyone has to post it between 10 and 30 days prior to the adoption of their budget, and then they adopt their tax rate, but you would do it in the same night at a September 1 school district.
So.
Anybody have any comments or questions for Liz? Okay, ready to go to the next one, discussion report items?
Yes, let me grab my.
Okay. Should we talk about our monthly financial report, or should we talk about our general fund report?
So these are May 31st, which isn't that valuable information tonight because we have closer to actuals when we adopt the budget. So this is what we were looking at the end of May, the end of that accounting period, but we will see better information later on in the board meeting. So really, if y'all have questions, I'll go through them, but like I said, it's basically old news at this point. So we have the general fund report. Things are, going along. You can see that our expenditures are getting closer and closer to our budgeted amounts. That is one reason why we will do some budget amendments tonight, and we will talk about those later in the meeting as well. You can also see, if I was looking at this and I had questions, I would say, hey, our revenue's less than our expenditures. We've talked about that before. It's just because we haven't received that money from the state, but we will. So, do y'all have any questions on the general fund report?
No? Anybody?
Okay. Child nutrition, again, it looks great. We're still tracking, our fund balance closely to make sure that we use that excess, and all of that money will need to be used in the next fiscal year, and there are POs and RFPs and stuff out for that. It just takes us some time to get that stuff in. So everything looks good on there. Any questions on child nutrition? Debt service. The only real big thing that's going on here, we're getting to the end of our collections for the year, and the defeasance is happening, like I'm wiring the money tomorrow. So that we'll see that come out, and we will add a little bit of fund balance to debt service this year, but then we've talked about structuring that going forward in bonds. So any questions on here?
No.
Okay. I went ahead and put the cash reconciliation report both for April and May, since we had an early May board meeting for April. So they're both in there. And then the program intent code spending report. Again, you can see those percentages either close or exceeding the spending requirement for the year. And as I close out June, they'll all be where they're supposed to be. So.
Okay, anybody have
Any
any
other
questions?
questions?
for that? No?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Cohen?
Absolutely. I'm going to yield to Mr. Byrd to discuss our bond update.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. President, Dr. Cohen, members of the board. We, last Wednesday, we had our bid opening for our construction manager at risk. And we had 3 respondents to the bid opening. We had Joris, Bartlett Cock, and Skanska. We currently have interviews set up for this Wednesday in order to do interview evaluations in order to select the best value for the district. And then we will be bringing that back to the board on the 12th or 17th, whatever the July meeting is. So as far as Proposition A goes, we are set to have our construction manager at risk on board by the July meeting. And as far as Proposition B, turf replacement, the turf was all stripped out really before last week. Coach put out a memo to the community, if you want turf, come pick it up, and man, they made it go away. So all the turf is now gone. New turf was delivered today, so that installation process will start later this week. They're in the process right now of fixing the ventilation and drainage system of the under drainage and subbase of this field before they start installing the new turf. But that's all set to begin next week, and then we have a completion date of July 20th for that. So the field should be ready for coach in 2 days by the 31st.
I'm sorry, what was the third contractor? You got Joris and Barley Cock, and who was the third?
Skanska?
Skanska.
Skanska's they're a national contractor.
Are they?
They've got an office in San Antonio and Houston. They've got some Texas stuff, but they're a bigger national firm.
Okay. Haven't seen them around town.
And those 3 will be the general contractors. Is that what you were saying?
One of those 3.
One of those 3.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
so that's the intent, is they're the ones that will be constructing.
Yes, sir.
Steel and concrete.
Yeah, we determined that it was best to have a single contractor based on the limited laydown area, limited size of where all these people are going to be, and to have a single point of contact, single point of basically of it's your fault.
Right.
So
No, I agree with that. And then from the design, I mean, that's the one that we already have.
we have Pfluger's on board.
Fluger's on board.
So
for
Pfluger,
a design.
correct. And Pfluger and AGCM both have done reviews of the responses as far as qualifications. Obviously, the pricing is pretty set because we did do a single step RFP. So we got qualifications and pricing at the same time. So we've got all the information at once. And like I said, we're set to do interviews Wednesday evening.
As far as on the field, have they found anything in the drainage issues with it?
So they're currently working on a pipe on the visitor side by the field house that apparently was crushed. They've dug it up, they've reinstalled a new pipe, and they're installing a new grate that will then be underneath the turf. So what you want to have is the turf and then right over the grate. So all the water drains into the grate and then runs away from the field. If that was crushed at some point, that's one of the most uphill sides of the field. So it's not going to allow any type of ventilation out of there, which is what was causing that bubbling to occur.
Was that a change order?
No, that was all included
It
in.
was included, good.
We had that included and negotiated into the price.
Awesome.
So we are looking at a lot of rotten nailer, which we built in contingency to replace, but just in walking around, you can see a lot of that is rotted and will need to be replaced, but we've planned for that.
Good. Any more questions for Derek? No. Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Next up will be our consent agenda, items to be approved in an all-encompassing motion. If discussion is desired on a particular item, it will be removed from the consent agenda. We have minutes of the May 22nd, 2023 meeting and minutes of the June 19th, 2023 meeting.
I'll move to approve as listed.
Also,
Okay, Joey has made a motion to approve the consent agenda and is seconded by Jeff Towns. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, then all in favor, raise your hand. And all opposed, not. So it passes 4-0. Next item on the agenda, we have invoices over $50,000. Ms. Oaks, we have invoices over $50,000.
Yeah, we just have the Wilson County Appraisal District invoice, and this is just a quarterly thing that y'all approve. The only thing we'll do different next year is we'll just approve the whole thing in September, so we just do this one time and do the whole deal. So we don't have to do this 4 times, but that's all it is.
We do it because we get the separate invoices each time. That's what we've done, why we've done it before. But,
Yeah.
we'll just do it.
I'll move to approve the Wilson County Appraisal District invoice in the amount of $89,031.44 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Joey Good to approve the invoice over $50,000 in the amount of $89,031.44. It's been seconded by Jeff Towns. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, raise your hand. And all opposed, raise your hand. The motion passes 4-0. What's next up? Ms. Oates, we have the substitute pay.
Yes, sir. So this was, y'all asked about this at our last board meeting, since we are extending our day a little bit next year with the 4-day. Y'all wanted to look at how we pay our substitutes and kind of the history beyond that. So in December of 2022, and that was before I was here, but y'all did approve a raise for substitutes at that point to become more competitive and give them a raise. So that happened then. And since then, we of course adopted the 4-day week. So Elena and Natalie and I worked on this spreadsheet to kind of give y'all where we're at, and then a couple of options if you did want to do something different. Our current pay schedule is the first thing that you see. And then option 1 is, let's say that we had somebody who was counting on working 5 days a week and they're only going to get 4 now. If we paid them these amounts per day in 4 days, they would make what they would have made in 5. And then the second column, option 2, and I actually added this option on there today because I felt like this was maybe part of your intent that isn't part of option 1. This accounts for the extra 1.5 hour in the day, so the extra work time for the per day rates. It leaves the per hour rate the same because they're going to be getting paid per hour, so they're going to get paid that extra 1.5 hours, but then it takes into account the fact that some of these people will be working a little bit longer of a day. Elena did pull some information to kind of see if we had subs and how many days each sub works or what that looked like. And at the bottom, they kind of put that on there. We have one sub that worked 170 days. And then we have 20 subs that worked between 84 and 169 days. And then 25 that worked between 42 and 84, and 84 that worked less than 42. And these aren't necessarily all full days. They could be half days as well. So that's kind of where we're at. It's as far as budgeting goes, of course, I budgeted on not knowing a whole lot about subs because, we're gonna not have Fridays. We're hoping to increase attendance with both staff and students and hopefully decrease our sub costs a little bit next year compared to what we're used to paying. So, do y'all have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I'm just curious how much this is going to impact subs. I think we changed the rate to stay competitive compared to other districts, on the 5-day. Now going to a 4-day, is that rate per day going to have an impact on the amount of subs that we have available in our pool willing to do the subs? I mean, like the 170 day, I mean, that's, so I think when you try to go from, we're going to make them whole on a sub, I think that is hard when it's really identified as a hit and miss, not guaranteed. Now on a long-term sub, I could see that more affect more on a long-term sub versus somebody that's subbing maybe 50% of the time, or 20 to 50% of the time.
Well,
I don't know.
we can look at this differently and bring it back next month too. I mean, if y'all have thoughts or want to.
Does this current have the raise that everyone else got?
No, so this current is only the raise that y'all did in December. As far as the 5% staff raise, it did not include a change in the substitutes. And the rates that I see per hour, like custodial, child nutrition, grounds maintenance, I think those are a little low. Not that we normally hire or get a lot of substitute positions, but I mean, when we do our TASB study, this is something that we'll look at the hourly rates for sure.
But they were the first people we looked at when we looked at raises for our district this past year. So they got
Yes,
a raise
that's
back in, before Christmas time,
Yeah, these are just
when
subs.
teachers and no one else got anything, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my question going on, but you alluded to it right away, that we had given them a raise in December. And is that raise fairly competitive?
Well,
with
so
what's done?
I pulled Floresville today because
Yeah.
I'm still learning all the schools around here, but Floresville still had theirs, we're still above them.
Yeah,
So.
yeah,
I mean, I
the
think-
raises made us actually more competitive in
Mhm.
some cases, I think.
Yeah. So,
And
I mean,
then-
it's hard to say what school districts will do for the 23-24 year. They haven't put that out there yet.
Right.
But this is definitely something we can revisit or whatever. I mean, I think that any of those options make sense. So.
Yeah.
Can you explain, I'm sorry, option one again, can you explain what the basis was of?
The thought behind that is, okay, let's say we had a sub and they were going to work 5 days a week. Well, now they're only going to work 4. So in order to hold them harmless, we would pay them a higher rate those 4 days, and they would get the same amount they would have gotten if they worked 5.
Okay.
And that's what Mr. Daggy asked us explicitly to bring back to the board meeting at the last board meeting.
Yeah.
And then option two is?
Yeah, that, I just kind of thought it made sense that since they're working an extra period of time every day, to come up with an hourly rate on that daily rate and then turn it into a higher daily rate. Mhm.
Okay. So it's just two ways to it.
Mhm. Yeah.
I guess the other question, if we don't approve this today, I mean, is it going to impact the district moving forward?
No, we won't have any subs until the school year starts,
Yeah.
and I mean, we can do it whenever you want.
And you mentioned also TASB is going to look at.
Yeah, we can
These
have them,
numbers.
yeah, we can have them look at
Yeah,
our
or they
our
can,
sub rates.
yeah.
Mhm.
When are they going to look at
So we'll start on that just as soon as they're ready for us in the 23-24 school year and have it hopefully by February.
Okay.
That's a guess.
I just think we're competitive now.
Well,
How many long-term subs are there? Not many. Even the ones that are 169 to 84 to 169 days. Are they working here all week? Or are they just working that many days spread
Yeah.
out through the year?
Yeah, she had a hard time being able
was hard to
to
track.
desegregate if they were here for a whole week.
Yeah.
As opposed, so that's why she added the number of days per year.
And we're, like you also said, we hope we over budgeted for subs anyway.
I'm hoping we.
That's part of a
Yeah.
result of the 4-day curriculum work would be
Yeah,
that
we
we're not
really
needing
need-
subs.
Yeah, we need people to come to work next year, so we're hoping between that and not having Fridays that we don't have as many subs. So I did not budget as much for subs next year.
But it seems like, at this point, if it's not going to impact the district right now, maybe we table it,
Yep.
until we get to that TASB study a little bit closer.
Yeah, I'm good.
And to see where we actually stand with our competitors. Yeah.
We can keep y'all updated on how we're doing with subs, because that's one of the things in terms of teacher attendance. How many subs are we using? I think that's something that y'all are doing reports on very regularly in terms of the 4-day work week and how that's playing out
Okay. And if we need to readdress this,
sooner.
we can. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
So one other thing, did you have a total dollar impact? So if we go from current to option one and current to option two, what that delta is, that increase? I know it's kind of hard because you don't know the number of days.
If I could, if I could forecast how many subs and if they're degreed or non-degreed or certified or how many
There's
days.
so many different.
Yeah, and I have no idea how many days we're going to use them next year. We can, but like Dr. Cohn said, we'll look at it. I mean, we can look at it a couple months in, we can look at it again
Okay.
semester and every 6 weeks or whatever, 9 weeks.
One of the reasons we addressed the sub pay back in December was lack of subs. Correct.
Yeah. I will continue to reemphasize, look, Vernia, if you look at our data compared to the state and nation, We have as many subs available to fill slots as any other school district in the state of Texas and in the nation right now.
Our problem's not unique.
Our problem is not unique, and no matter how much you press and how much you push, you're still in that same boat with everybody trying to move that needle a little bit, and we tried to move the salary. But it's not like Vernia is a sub-shortage district compared to what anybody else is facing. We're doubling down on keeping our teachers in the classroom, not pulling them for curriculum, not pulling them to look at data, finding other times for that, not pulling them professional learning. Teach kids when you're here. And then not being here on Fridays, all those things together should severely reduce some number here, which you can't even begin to forecast right now, of how many will be used next year, because the data will be completely different of the factors surrounding it. But we do then have had as many subs as other school districts. And how I know that is the data set, the program that we use calls subs. It's one of the bigger programs out there. So it tracks all the data in the state of Texas and the nation from all these thousands of school districts. And you can see in there how many subs are available per teacher, etc. And by day and week, how many are being used percentage-wise. And we follow that curve perfectly. I mean, to the T with what all the other districts are facing in the state. We just need to put a double down of, hey, we need our teachers in the classroom on days that they're teaching. And now that we've given them the Fridays to do things in their life, right? Then we're hoping on banking on not needing as many people to fill those slots. Because we know when we don't have a certified teacher in that room, the education isn't as good. We got good people stepping up for us to fill our rooms, but they're not teachers, right? And they're not teaching those kids. But we will keep y'all updated every month on where we're at with it, unless you come back and tell us to do something different.
Okay. I agree with Mr. Towns. I don't know what we got to do.
We don't have to do anything. Yeah, we don't, it's an
Nobody
agenda,
makes
it's
a
an
motion
agenda
to-
item,
Gotcha.
but we don't need a motion for it, right? Okay. All right, anybody any more
Thank
questions
you.
for Ms. Oaks? Stu? Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Wallace, you're up. We have a school bus purchase with our bond money.
Evening. So tonight I bring you a couple options, purchasing 2 school buses. We've gotten bids from Rush Truck Center, Longhorn Bus Sales, and Thomas Bus of Texas. The Rush Truck Center bid was for $145,630. Longhorn Bus was the most expensive with $153,130. And the Thomas Bus was $134,700. At this point, I would recommend we purchase the Bluebird buses from Rush Truck Center. Cummins engines are consistent with our fleet. The buses are in stock. I touched base with them again today. As soon as we would make that purchase, they would just have to put the camera systems in that we use in our fleet, and they'd be available for the upcoming school year. While the Thomas buses are the cheapest in price, last year we ordered a bus in April, got told October, we had to cancel it in June. The customer service I received from them has not been great. They're not easy to deal with, so best value for the district, I've really kind of hesitate using them, but I would definitely recommend buying the Bluebird buses for this purchase.
And again, you mentioned in the notes that it's consistent with our fleet, so kind of have that standardized
Yes, sir.
fleet that we're
It's got
going
the
for.
Cummins engine and the Allison transmission. The body's a little different. You may have a little bit different marker lights and bulbs and stuff like that, but you're going to get that change with year-over-year model change anyway. So the changes will be minuscule as far as that goes, but the main components are going to be pretty similar. Yes, sir.
And with Rush, have you had to deal with them on any type of warranty for previous purchases?
I've dealt with them in another in private industry before this,
Okay.
and they've been very responsive.
Responsive.
In the past in that industry. Yes,
That's
sir.
kind of what I'm getting at.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
so good customer service.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Any other questions for Mr. Wallace?
Yeah, one more question. I guess it's more of a financial side. I think that this is coming from our bond money. Okay, just want to clarify. So I'll move to approve the purchase of two 2024 Bluebird 77 passenger buses from Rush Truck Center for $292,060.
I'll second.
Motion been made by Joey to purchase two Bluebird buses from Rush Truck Center for $292,000 and $2,060. That motion been seconded by Jeff Towns. Is there any discussion on this motion to purchase the buses? If not, all in favor, raise your hand. And all opposed, raise your hand. It is 4-0. That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Wallace.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Ms. Oaks, back up for the budget amendments.
So the school board is required to adopt and then manage major funds. So I have budget amendments here for the general fund, the child nutrition fund, the debt service fund. I'm sure y'all have been through this before at the end of the year. Keep in mind, these are budgeted numbers. We'll look at actuals, or where I forecast actuals when we adopt the budget here in a few minutes. You're basically increasing and decreasing revenue and expenditures as close to actuals as I can forecast at this point, to end the year, hopefully with our budget, with all of our expenses under budget in each function. I did account for as many end-of-year adjustments I could tell that we were going to be making. So, you know, we'll do adjustments in the books prior to our audit, and then the auditors will come in and do the audit. They'll post some adjustments. That's all very normal, and we'll post those, you know, hopefully before the end of the calendar year. So I've tried to forecast as many of those as I know will happen. There will be ups and downs. There will be things that'll still move, but hopefully I got it pretty close. The largest amendments, going through these, you know, if it was my budget from the beginning of the year, I could probably give you lots more detail. From what I can tell, I would say that the biggest adjustments or amendments are probably payroll. You know, things might have gotten added in the year, or maybe when you pull that payroll file through in the summer, it's extremely hard to get it perfect. That's near impossible. So, but you see some down, some up, and this basically makes a balanced budget. But then that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to end up that way. So I think that we'll end up adding to fund balance, but for budgeted numbers in the general fund, it makes us balanced on the budgeted side. On the child nutrition amendments, we're basically adding to revenue because we did receive more revenue than budgeted, and we're decreasing on the expense side. That basically accounts for the fact that we did budget for the excess fund balance, but we're still waiting on stuff to come in. And then on the debt service, also, it's just, this is how much we actually collected. I usually amend the revenue budgets to exact, and then I get as close as I can on the expense sides, and I allow for a cushion for things I didn't know about, or, you know, there's all these GASB things y'all have probably heard about before that, you know, you just never know. So, do y'all have any questions at all on the budget amendments?
Good. Joey?
No.
So I move to approve the budget amendments as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion to approve the budget amendments as presented was made by Jeff Townsend and seconded by Stu Krish. Any discussion on the budget amendment? If not, all in favor, raise your hand. And all opposed, raise your hand. Motion passes 4-0. Okay. Now, next item on the agenda, consider and approve amended agreement with project manager AGCM for the construction management services for the district's 2023 bond projects.
This was on the advice of our attorney. She said she would not normally have the board approve this contract again because y'all did have a contract with them when you originally went out for an RFP, but the original RFP called for a one-year term with annual renewals, and this changes that and also keeps them under contract and through the warranty period of everything with the bond. And they're here, so if y'all have any questions for them as well, that's what this is.
So basically, the line just kind of lines us up with.
Yeah, keeps them under contract for the whole project through the end of the warranty.
Nothing changed in the scope of work. I mean, so the scope of work that was in the contract covers what we need to do going forward through the warranty period.
Yes, sir. And they gone through it and made a few edits, and they were great, so. Went back to our attorney and she agreed, so.
Any more questions? Ms. Oaks or AGCM? No?
No, I saw where you got the language pertaining to the bond and the, construction and renovation to our facilities, so it's good. And so it captured that aspect of it.
All right, good.
So I'll move that the board approve the amended agreement with Project Manager AGCM for construction management services for the district's 2023 bond projects in a form approved by district legal counsel and for a term that extends to the end of the district's 12-month warranty on the construction.
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Jeff Townsend, seconded by Joey Goo to approve the amended agreement with Project Manager AGCM. Any discussion on this motion? If not, all in favor, raise your hand. And all opposed, so the motion passes 4-0. Okay. Ms. Oaks, I think we got you one more time. For next item on the agenda is to consider and approve the 2023-2024 budget.
Okay, so this is the same deal with the 3 major funds that we have. This first big spreadsheet, I did everything by function and by object within that function, since y'all do approve the budget by function. But really, the big picture of the budget is on the next slide, where we look at the overall expenditures and revenues. This is where you see the actuals as I think that we will end up for the school year. This is always a game for me. I try to get as close as I can, and I wait for the audit, and I'm like, so these are our actual payroll, our actual contracted services under 22-23, and then 23-24 is obviously the proposed for next year, both on the revenue and the expenditure side. Let's just remember that as we adopted this budget, we said we were going to plan on the same exact kids, same exact attendance. So that's what this is based on. I did assume a small tax rate compression. We won't know that until TEA gives it to us, but you can figure it out on your own ahead of time. We will have a little bit lower tax rate on the M&O side. I have a lower federal revenue number because I don't plan on drawing down indirect costs on federal programs, but sometimes, it helps out. So we can look at that again as the year goes on. And we do have an increase in our state revenue, and that is pretty much just because of current law with the golden copper penny yield, or golden penny yield. So you see an increase in payroll. Although we gave a 5% raise, you only see a 2.64% increase. There's lots of variables in there. I went down a little bit on substitutes. We moved a lot of money around this past fiscal year, trying to take advantage of federal money that we needed to use before the end of this fiscal year. And I won't have, there'll be different amounts of that for next year. So that's why it's not quite 5%, even though we did a 5% raise. And then you see an increase in the 62 and the 63. Those are contracted services and supplies. There's also lots of different players in that. We did use federal money for some of those things. ESSER, we have used ESSER for some resources that we are moving into the general fund. We had the school safety standards grant, where I basically supplanted all of that grant, and a lot of that was in the 62 and 6300s. I put that money into the grant, to help pay for our city bills for from the police department. We had the purchase that we approved for E-rate earlier, and those items won't be in until 23-24. So that got moved into next year's, out of the 22-23 and into the 23-24. And we have some other things like that where we're waiting for stuff to come in, it's not coming in, so it's going to get pushed into the 23-24 budget. And you always know that's going to happen, so I try to keep a little bit of cushion for that. You see a big decrease in 6,600. That is because we bought the portables this year. That's a big portion of that. There are some items in there that we will be reimbursing ourselves with bond funds. But that still shows up on the expense side. Like the gym floor shows up in there, even though that was paid by insurance. You do have to book the revenue and the expense on that. We did buy some furniture, a Suburban, a bus. So that's why you see a big decrease on the 6,600 side. I think I skipped the 64. You see a change in that as well. I'm expecting a substantial increase in our property and casualty insurance, and that's something we'll look at either in July or August. So, you know, that's always, could be a lot. 10% is about what I was expecting. And then we just have some coding changes really to account for some of the percent changes. But at this point, when I ran this, I guess Friday, the actuals came up with us adding just under $300,000 to fund balance for the 22-23 school year. So, and then I have budgeted to add $100,000 to fund balance next year. And again, hopefully it's more than that.
So that's what that, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't say that. I was going to say.
So that's what that 100,000 is, I mean, because I see the expenditures are 100,000 less than the revenue overall. And that's the intent, is that there is some cushion there, and we're good to go like that and present it like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're good to go. You'll see the,
I guess, you know, just the potential pushback from community saying, hey, you're sandbagging $100,000. What are you doing?
We probably will grow kids, and we got to make sure that we put that money aside to legally stay within our fund balance requirement.
well, and we told the community we're going to save some money for turf and buses, so I feel like, I mean, trust me, I can spend it.
Yeah.
But I feel like, considering we haven't put that money aside in the past, I would love to add a little bit of money to fund balance and commit some money to.
Absolutely. I think that is fabulous in doing that. And I think we've done that historically, and I think we've got to look at that. You know, as our as our revenue or our expenditures go up, that fund balance also goes up. So we've got to be, you know, we're chasing that, you know, continually as our expenses go up.
Yeah, because you're right, we need to keep, you know, at least 3 months of expenditures in here. So yeah, as our expenditures go up, our requirement goes up.
Right. Any questions on the general fund?
Yeah, the other question that I had reviewing this was the payroll, but you've addressed that, so thank you. I didn't get to ask that.
That's another one of my goals. I
Beat
told
you
y'all
to
so
before
much,
you
I have
asked
any
it.
questions.
Man,
Beat you to it.
I called that an
Beat you to it.
executive leadership team, sir, earlier this week.
2.6% increase in payroll. I thought we gave a 5% payroll increase, but very good. No, I have no further questions on the general.
Steve, you got anything? I'm good. Jeff?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Go to the next section.
Okay, child nutrition. This is the same kind of format. The actuals and the proposed. We are adding to our fund balance in child nutrition again this year. So that will increase our excess fund balance. So I have budgeted to spend that money in the 23-24 school year to continually try to keep us under that. And I think that'll work itself out. You know, y'all got a lot of extra money in COVID, like a lot of other schools. I do expect a decrease in revenue next year with not having Fridays. So I did decrease some of the revenue. And like I said, we do have some open POs and some POs already done in the 23-24 school year that Angela's put together to spend money and some small wares and some tables and some equipment. So there's really not much to it. We started the year with a fund balance, and we're going to add to it. And so we're going to get up to this 1.5 million, and then next year, hopefully, we spend that money and we get down to where we're supposed to be, which is under like $440,000 in our fund balance there. It's a good problem to have, so.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then the last one is the debt service fund. And this one, we're going to amend this one pretty quick in the school year because this is only our current debt. So until we have that bond sale, we will restructure our debt service payments and we'll amend this. So this is just on our current debt. And you can see, what we're going to collect next year. And then I do have the defeasance. I went ahead and put a budget for that, the 4.8 million. But again, that's going to depend on how we structure our bonds as we move forward with the bond sale and debt. So, do y'all have any questions on that?
So right now, our debt payments that we have to do on our current, that's built into this, right?
Our not the bond sale that we're fixing to do.
Right.
But our
just
current.
our current.
Yes.
That's what this represents.
Yes, the 23-24 is only current debt, pretending like we didn't just pass a bond.
Okay.
And we will amend it as soon as we do that bond sale and we'll come up with an aggregate debt schedule, and we'll put it all in one spot. But this would, pretending we didn't do a bond, this is what we would do.
When will we normally be paying off for this in the future here with the bond sale? When will that start? Payments start have to be?
So we'll have payments due in August. Every August and September, you usually do interest in August and principal in February, and not September. And depending on when we get the bond sale done,
Okay.
yeah,
Depends when that happens. So
Yeah.
It's not a set time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and we did add a little bit of fund balance this year to debt service, but again, we've talked about, looking at how we do that. We need a fund balance to make those August payments.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Any questions?
So I move to approve the 2023-2024 budget as presented.
I'll second.
Jeff Towns has made a motion, and it's been seconded by Joey Good. The motion is to approve the 2023-2024 budget. Any discussion on this motion? If not, all in favor, raise your hand. And all opposed, raise your hand. That motion passes 4-0. Thank you, so.
Thank you.
For participation award.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
The way you presented this and the way it's laid out, it helped me, so I do appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, and 551.0821. We will now go into closed session. The time is now 7:23. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
You had looked twice at that.
Thank you all for coming. Mr. Duffin, you have time to sit back, so thank you all for being here tonight.
Ellen, have a good night.
Sean, do you want to?
Liz, thank you very much. Can.